Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach, and today we're going to take a look at the first week of JLT action. I've got a fair few names I wanted to run through, so obviously I do like to go into detail for a few of my players, but I will try and keep this one a little bit more dot point and get through plenty of names in a reasonable amount of time. Just put a few guys on the radar, maybe a few guys that impressed, a few guys that we've been talking about, thinking about, possibly selecting, just updating on how they went. I should say off the top, I did not see a great deal of footy over the weekend. Big weekend of work. We had some cricket, we had some rowing. It was a pretty big weekend. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be an absolute expert because I watched every single game and every minute. I saw bits and pieces of every game, and when I could, caught a bit of the action, and of course read up on all the games and had a look at the stats. But I can't absolutely go into detail because I didn't see them play, and sometimes in JLT and practice matches it is crucial to see how a guy actually played, where he lined up, rather than just looking at his stats. I will also say that I'm not a massive believer in SuperCoach scores this time of the year. I think given the amount of players that run through a ground and the percentage of time on ground, I think sometimes we can see inflated scores and scores that maybe don't properly reflect it, and this bloke was on for a bit longer and things like that. So I haven't taken into account any of those. Thanks to the guys who did recommend a few places I could find the SuperCoach scores. I did have a look at them for my own personal benefit, but I just don't think they're super relevant to talk about it. It's probably more of talking about how much time they played, how they went, and ideally, which I will in the coming weeks, I've got holidays coming up, I'll see much more action and be able to give a bit better of an idea. But still, we've got a few guys to put on the radar, so I best get into it. So first game up was North Melbourne and Melbourne. Of course, the D's got the job done by 53 points, and I think the two ruckmen were some key players we're having a look at. Todd Goldstein, really impressive. You know, he had the 8 touches, 26 hit-outs, and I think he really showed that if he's the number one man, he is got to be a guy that we consider. I think he's got to be in the conversation. At this point in time, I'm probably thinking Grundy or Goldstein, clearly leaning towards Grundy because he's my side, but I think if Bruce is playing forward or not in the team, then Goldstein's a very, very good option. I do think Bruce might affect him a little bit, though, come the big season. Luke McDonald, 9 touches, 7 of those contested, but just went at 44% disposal efficiency. Fair to say he didn't set the world on fire. He's obviously a guy I've talked about and been quite confident about, and he comes in that category of a guy who needs to impress us through the JLT in pre-season to get picked. So he didn't do that first up. We'll be looking for something a bit more from him in his second outing. Mitch Hibberd, 169k. A lot of people will be looking at him for the back line rookie option, and he was reasonable, 41% time on ground, 6 touches. I mean, obviously just got a little bit of time, nothing to write home about, but I think he'll certainly be in the mix for North Melbourne starting 22. And Luke Davies-Uniacke, of course, a highly talented young man, and I think he'll be very much in that starting 22. Not regardless of how he goes, but I think North Melbourne will want to play him, whether he sets the pre-season on fire or he just goes okay. I think if he gets through injury-free and even just shows enough, just a little bit, he'll be in that side. 12 touches from 78% time on ground. Moving on to the Ds, clearly the ruckman, as I mentioned, Max Gawn. Well, lock him in your side. If you haven't got him already, what are you doing? You've got to get him in that side. 39 hit-outs, 9 touches, and perhaps the biggest lock along with Nat Fyfe for this season. I think he's an absolute must-have, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know there. Michael Hibberd was extremely impressive, game-high 27 touches, and just reaffirmed that he is a fantastic halfback flanker and the go-to guy out of defence for Melbourne. So a lot of people will be locking him for their D1, and rightly so. He showed that he's still very capable, winning plenty of the ball. Christian Petrarca, 19 touches, 11 contested and 3 clearances. This is a great example of where I would have loved to see the full game, just see exactly where he's working through a stoppage, the exact balance of forward and midfield, but the numbers read reasonably well, and by all reports, talking to a couple of people who are Melbourne fans, he went okay. Nothing amazing, but good enough. So I think he's certainly one that I've got massive confidence in, and I think he'll be a very good player this season, really break out. Bailey Fritz, I think I'm saying that right, 117k, kicked the 3 goals, 11 touches. He put himself definitely on the radar. He'll be a player that we've got to consider as a cash cow rookie. Certainly made a promising start. Angus Brayshaw, just the 13 touches, 2 contested, no clearances. Again, I'm just judging off the numbers, but numbers-wise, I mean, clearly often you look at, for a midfielder, they need to be getting a bit of contested ball, tackles and clearances, quite obviously. That's where that position sort of naturally turns its stats to. Brayshaw didn't really get too many of them. Again, would have loved to watch him closely. I think at this point in time, if you followed a few of my videos on my team update, he is in my team. I must say he is probably on the out. I would dare say I'd be looking to move him on. I was reasonably keen on him without being super sold, and at this stage I just need to be seeing a little bit more. So he's certainly an exchangeable player in my side at the moment. Christian Salem, really interesting player, 437k in the back line, 19 touches, 11 contested, 5 clearances, and a beautiful ball user. I always feel as if Salem could be a guy that at some point in his career really impresses in SuperCoach. Will it be this year or not? We'll have to wait and see. I don't think he's ever going to be a guy who racks up possessions. He's not an absolute accumulator, but he is very good by foot and quite a silky smooth player, highly touted as we know. I just wonder maybe this could be the season he really puts himself on the map. You'd be pretty bold to go with him, but I wouldn't rule it out. Food for thought. Essendon versus Richmond. Of course, the Tigers got the job done by 87 points. Extremely dominant display there. But look, Devon Smith was a man who really backed up and proved why a lot of people were keen on him. He was a highly requested player. I did a player profile. Didn't absolutely endorse him. I believe my end verdict was a no, or would take a lot of convincing. And fair to say, he did his best job at convincing. 26 touches, 5 clearances, 11 contested, 4 tackles and a goal, if you don't mind. So he's got to be in the mix. Could I see myself starting him? I would doubt it. He puts himself up against a guy like Petrarca, and I love Petrarca, massive fan. And it's worth noting in these matches who is out as well. Obviously, some teams go in with stronger sides than others. And even if some stronger players are in the team, are they playing their A1 position, or are they letting others get an opportunity, even if it's just for a half? And that can skew the numbers. And another reason why I don't think the SuperCoach points are a hard and fast go-by rule in terms of pre-season. But nonetheless, Devon Smith certainly showed why people would be excited, playing plenty of midfield. From the Giants, talented player. He's got to prick the ears up of many a SuperCoacher. Darcy Parish, 21 touches, 12 contested, 5 clearances. He's at 419k in the forward line. And again, a bit like Salem, you'd have to be pretty bold to go with him, that's for sure. But I do feel as if he's a player that could definitely see his average go up. By how much? Well, that's really the million-dollar question, isn't it? I'm not sure it'll be enough to really warrant a selection, and at that price, it's quite risky if it doesn't pay off. Andy McGrath, 388k, the 18 touches. He had a run through the midfield at times, got that opportunity, and I'm sure he'll do so throughout the season. I don't mind him as an option, a bit like Parish. I think his numbers will go up, and quite well. I think we'll see a reasonable spike in the numbers, but again, is it going to be enough to warrant a selection? That's the question, isn't it? I'm not 100% sure, because if it goes wrong, then all of a sudden we're in a bit of strife, aren't we? Because that's such an awkward price tag. But moving on to Jake Stringer, 6 touches, 5 clangers. It wasn't Jake's day, 46% time on ground. I believe he copped a knock. And look, it's hard to judge him off this. He didn't set the world on fire. By all reports in the press conference, he was affected by an early knock, and we probably didn't see the best of him. So, but we do need to see the best of him through the preseason to pick him. So if he doesn't show it, then we're not going to go on it any other reason than preseason form. So we need to see it at some stage. Jake. Richmond, Jack Graham. Bit of talk about him, and to be fair, I'm not 100% sure why. I don't feel as if he's relevant at all. I wonder if I'll eat those words, but 268k, if I can read my writing correctly, in the midfield. 14 touches, 4 clearances, nice numbers, and I think he's a handy player. Of course, the Golden Boy timed his run beautifully in terms of AFL career, playing in that grand final and kicking, 3 goals. So certainly a very talented player, but I just don't think there's any need to get too carried away over what's been, a handful of games, and there's far better mid-price options around, and he's a very inexperienced player. I just don't see it happening, as well as the fact I feel Richmond will drop off a bit. I think they all rode a wave of momentum, and Graham was swept up in that and played some great stuff, inspired football. I just wonder how they'll reproduce that this season. We'll wait and see. That's probably a story for another day, but I don't see Jack Graham being overly relevant. I just want to put that out there because I have seen his name talked about occasionally, not in many teams, but he has been requested. But Corey Ellis, a favourite of mine. I think I had him as a rookie around that 180k mark maybe a year or so ago. It didn't quite work out, but a bit like Salem, a beautiful user of the ball, 17 touches from 68% time on ground. And I feel at some stage he will make a mark on the game, whether that means he's a SuperCoach scorer or not. I feel his game does suit well to be a scorer, but at this point in time, it's all about keeping his AFL career alive, because I think he's coming in to his final year of his contract and he needs to find himself a regular spot in the Tigers outfit before we can think about SuperCoach. But I just wanted to put him on the map and have a chat about him. Dustin Martin, well, he dominated, didn't he? 24 touches, 61% time on ground. Nothing we don't know there. He's a superstar. Kane Lambert, fantastic end of the season, 472k. He's a mid-forward, 15 touches. Again, good numbers. I feel he also rode that wave of momentum, and potentially, like many other Tigers, when we look back in hindsight, will most likely say my best football was in the second half of that season and through the finals. I think Lambert would be a brave choice, but he certainly does have a way of finding plenty of the ball. But a bit like the Tigers as a team, they're such an even side, plenty of smalls with pace and pressure, and I just sometimes feel that they all mould together in a way. There's no absolute main men aside from your Koch and Rance, Martin, Rewalt sort of thing. They've got their main men at the top and then just a lot of soldiers, and I get concerned picking soldiers because I want my men to be the main men when we talk premiums, and I feel that Lambert at times can be not a role player, but more of a soldier, does the best for the team, and not always is him winning plenty of the ball the best. I mean, a Richmond fan may know that better than me. Talented player, not one for me in SuperCoach, in my opinion. Brandon Ellis, 12 touches. Again, would have loved to see exactly how he went over the course of the game. Statistically, didn't set the world on fire. I don't think we should be jumping the gun on him. If you got him in your side, we'll give him every game through the pre-season to get a decent look at him. And I should say, I don't think pre-season form and these 2 JLT games should absolutely decide our sides. I think we tinker a bit too much, that is for sure. Jack Higgins, a very exciting youngster. We all know his TAC Cup numbers. They were huge. 44% time on ground, 5 touches. I think the word is that he is probably an outside chance to play round 1. We'll certainly get opportunity through the season. Whether we see it in round 1, I'm not sure. Of course, it's a tough side to break into, particularly in that forward half and midfield of the Tigers. Very even side. Adelaide versus Fremantle. The Crows coming back to get up by 10 points. And Tom Doty, I think I said that right. I was told the other day by a fellow who went to school from him that I was saying it wrong. So I can't even remember how he pronounced it. So I'm guessing again. I'll have to look up that phonetically at some point in time. But 16 touches, 4 tackles, 5 rebound 50s. I saw a bit of this game, had a nice little extended lunch break and checked out this one on the Foxtel at work. And yeah, he looked pretty solid. He really looked like he fit in well to that back six and did seem like that lever replacement, certainly in the mix for it. I think he'll be in many people's backlines at the moment, and he's looking the goods. Lachlan Murphy, 102k in the back line, 11 touches, 3 goals, 63% time on ground. Bit of a goal sneak sort of type, seems like a small nuggety fella. Not sure he'll push into that Adelaide side, it'd be pretty tough to do so. But you know, he played well and he's worth noting. Cam Ellis-Yeoman, really like what he's doing. I tell you what, if he was a forward option or anything but midfield, be all over him. 263k, 14 touches, 10 contested, 4 tackles, 4 clearances from his 66% time on ground. And I really like him. A lot of super coaches would have had him back a couple of seasons ago, I think it was, maybe even more, when he was at a rookie price, and he was really good. Found a spot in that Adelaide midfield. Big-bodied player, wins plenty of hard ball, and the sort of midfielder you need through the stoppage. But injuries have really dealt him pretty hard and hasn't got a great run at it, so hopefully he does this season. But he's probably an example of a guy. I spoke of Jack Graham before, which, you know, clearly Cam Ellis-Yeoman would be the man I'd take in front of him if you're looking at someone in that price range. But I am a big fan of him. Perhaps a bit awkward. People, you know my thoughts on mid-price types through the midfield, and a lot of people might even be looking 60k north at O'Meara. Looking at the Dockers, well, Nat Fyfe. I looked at his ownership, 47%. What's 53% of you guys doing out there? This man must be picked. If Gawn isn't the biggest lock, then Fyfe is. There's no doubt about it, and he put an exclamation mark on it on the weekend. 27 touches, 8 clearances, 13 contested, 2 goals, 3 contested marks. It's a Nat Fyfe game. That's what he brings. It's great to see him back to his best, and everything points to him producing his best footy across the whole season. And last time we saw that, he produced numbers in the 120s. So jump on board, get around him. If you miss the boat, you'll be in strife. David Mundy, 19 touches. Of course, did a player profile on him. Sort of the experienced campaigner, is now available as a forward. But I stand by my thoughts that we shouldn't be thinking about him. He was reasonably good on the weekend, but I just don't see him getting enough midfield time. More of your leadership style player and more of a forward option these days. A man who will get more midfield time is certainly Michael Walters. You know, he got the 15 touches, 12 contested and 7 tackles. Statistically, a really impressive game. I think he's one to definitely think about. You know, he is in that sort of slightly, well, he's not mid-price, but certainly that premium type that could launch himself into the absolute premium status. That's what you'd be picking him for. And I think he's one to put on the radar. I think he's a talented player, a quality, crafty type through that midfield, and I think Ross Lyon will be looking to deploy him in there a fair bit. We saw some great numbers in the second half of last year. Can be a bit of a roller coaster ride at times. He's capable of some big games, but also does still throw in some poor ones. But he's one to monitor. I think he'll be in a few sides, and he is an exciting player. Got plenty of tricks, that's for sure. Bailey Banfield really put himself on the map, that's for sure. 11 touches, 2 goals, 39% time on ground. And he was one of the real positives out of the Dockers, that's for sure. And certainly in terms of SuperCoach, we can get him in the midfield, 123k, and he'll be in the mix. Obviously, you know, it all depends who's named round 1 in the end. We can speculate and talk about it, but at the end of the day, your rookies are all decided by round 1. We often think some guys are going to get named, all of a sudden they don't, and perhaps players we thought were slightly on the out do get named, and all of a sudden you're shuffling your bench left, right and centre. But I think he definitely showed that he could be a very valuable player. If I recall correctly, did he win the Waffle Best and Fairest? He won his Best and Fairest at his club in the Waffle, senior player, something along those lines, a mature type. So I'll have to research that one a little closer, and I will do when I take a look at the rookies in depth, but he's certainly one that showed what he could do. And Nathan Wilson, 14 touches, 13 kicks, 1 handball. Now, a few people talking about him, you know, I think we get a little bit excited about a guy who goes to a club for opportunity as a rebounding defender, will be the main man out of the back line. And I think Wilson will be that, but I'm not sure he's relevant in SuperCoach. He reminds me a bit in terms of Shannon Hearn, the types who they're very good kicks of the ball, not high possession players, will get you your 85 to 90 average. I know Hearn had some bigger numbers than that at times, but that's sort of where I'm seeing, you know, they're the designated kicker, but I'm not sure they get as much of accumulation as one would like. But I think people have talked about him, so it's worth me having my 2 cents in there as well. But for me, it's a no on Wilson at this point in time. West Coast and Port Adelaide, the last game of the weekend, and it was the Eagles getting up by 2 points, courtesy of a Lewis Jetta long bomb, which was an absolute beauty just to put him in front within the final minute, which was great. Jack Redden, really interesting prospect. Could I endorse picking him? Probably not. He's at 437k, but as I said with Cam Ellis-Yeoman, I tell you what, if they were in the forward line, which, you know, they did play there at times. I'm pretty sure Redden spent a bit of time off a half-forward flank, at least early in the season. But I think he's in for a really good season and a return to his best Brisbane days, which saw him average between 95 and 100. He loves to win the hard ball. He tackles hard. You can lock him in for 5+ tackles most games. You wouldn't see him hit 30 touches often. He's going to be more your 22 to 26 operator, and hard ball, tackles hard, and really could definitely see him pushing the 100 mark. There's a midfield spot waiting to be taken, and I think Redden's got his hands all over it. Of course, Mitchell out of the side, Pritis out of the side. Clearly, blokes like Yo and Redden and Dom Sheed, you know, they're going to look to really take their game to the next level inside that midfield operation for the Eagles. But 437k makes him awfully awkward. Elliot Yo returned, 20 touches, 4 clearances, and I was concerned about his hip. Great to see him get through the game. If he plays and does all right through the JLT, it will be hard to say no. Of course, my reasoning for taking him out of my side was I was concerned with his fitness, but if he's getting through and going fine, well, he's a bit like Isaac Heaney in the forward line. Yeah, they haven't had the best pre-seasons, but it looks as if they're clearly going to be in the top 3 or 4 forwards and defenders, respectively. So it is worth getting them in off the top rather than trying to chase them, because it does seem if they both play and get through JLT okay, they've both had interrupted preparations, but they do seem quite clearly to be the pick of the bunch. I mean, particularly Heaney. I mean, that's a story for another day. Of course, Hibbard is another guy that you could talk about, but certainly Yo's right up there. Liam Ryan, Daniel Venables, you know, a couple of guys that, you know, we've certainly been hearing good things about for round 1. They probably didn't set the world on fire with 7 touches and 5 touches from about 70 to 80% time on ground. But again, that's one where sometimes it's not about the numbers. Sometimes it's just seeing how they go about it on the ground. They might just only do 1 or 2 good things. And, you know, that can be something you take a bit from. But obviously, I didn't see this game in its entirety. In fact, from memory, I think I only saw about 10 minutes. So tough for me to judge in that respect. Scotty Lycett, of course, with Nick Nat having his troubles, naturally it turns to, well, maybe if Nick Nat's not around, then who's going to fill the void? Scotty Lycett's got a little bit of airtime. I don't see any reason talking about it. Don't pick him. I just would be shocked if he was a good selection. He'll share it with Nathan Vardy as he did on the weekend. And once Nick Nat gets going, you know, the bloke doesn't have a long-term injury. I mean, we presume Nick Nat, if he's not round 1, will be round 2, round 3, round 4. So I don't see any point. Scott Lycett, yeah, he's a little bit cheaper than maybe his potential, but I don't see any real reason to pick him. You know, there's been a little bit of talk about him, so it's worth discussing that, but I wouldn't be picking him at all. Jasper Pittard, really interesting point of view, this one. I looked at him at 434k. Has shown he can average in the 90s before. Again, you'd be a pretty brave man to pick him, but 19 touches, 5 rebound 50s. If he can get back somewhere near his best, I think he'd be an okay selection, but I'd be more endorsing him for your draft. I think he'd be a really good draft selection. One that'll probably slide, but I think could be somewhere in the 90s. But I couldn't tell you with any real confidence to pick him in your SuperCoach Classic. Of course, Broadbent is another guy who's that real rebounder that is probably going to affect how he goes as well. Riley Bonner as well. I think a real likely type. I love the way he goes about it. Hasn't been able to get the opportunity. Did play the elimination final. So that shows Port has a fair bit of faith in him and was clearly in their best 22 come the end of last season. Will he stay there for round 1? We'll have to wait and see. I mean, what's he priced at? I haven't written it down, but I think it was about between 268, 280 from memory. And look, he had the 11 touches from 69% time on ground, and he's one to watch. I think it'd be tricky to pick him. You'd need to see him put in in the starting team clearly, but we need to see that he is playing a rebounding role, which I would imagine he would. I mean, that's his style. If he is named round one, he's got to be considered, but I think we'll need a little bit of encouragement from his performances rather than just being named. I think we'll need to see next game him really produce some good stuff just to give us that confidence to pick him. But he's a player. I think he'll be a very good player, and if it's not this season, then I think he might be a guy we talk about in a few years to come. Don Barry, extremely good, 20 touches. Again, we could just about lock him in the sides. Mature age player, been on the D's list. You know, he went back, did the hard yards in the sample, I believe, and he'll be a guy that I'd be very confident plays round one. Not only will play, but I think he's capable of scoring some pretty good points. So that was great to see. Paddy Ryder, 6 touches, 29 hit-outs. A lot of people locking him into their ruck one spot alongside Gawn. Fair enough too, couldn't argue with that. He's looking the goods. He was a very good player last season, clearly. And Robbie Gray will end on, you know, what's perhaps a negative note. Obviously, copped the 1 week. Will he challenge it? I'm not so sure. I'm doing this on the Monday night. This will probably come out on the Tuesday night. Not so sure exactly where that's all at. I know he copped the 1 week. So I'll have to wait and see whether they do choose to challenge that one. But we'll have to watch and see what happens there. Nonetheless, I probably haven't really endorsed him. I think he's going to play far more forward. I think the midfield minutes will be down for Gray. That concerns me. I think I've said that before. I feel as if that, in combination with his body, of course he had the cancer scare as well with his health, so clearly we hope that's all going well from a bigger picture point of view, but he has had some soft tissue issues as well, or was it concussion? Maybe both, I'm not so sure, but he does have a fair few issues with his body. And look, I think, to be honest, if he does cover 1 week and people take him out of his side, I think it's probably a blessing in disguise, because I don't think Robbie Gray's the premium of old that we once knew and once loved in the midfield jet that he once was. So I think those days are past and he's more your dynamic forward. So I don't see the consistency of numbers happening for Gray. But look, that brings it to a wrap, and if it's fair to say, I need a drink of water because that was a fairly lengthy one. But I think it warrants it. I've had a few comments asking me to do this one, and that's great to see when I've had a bit of content in previous seasons and people already know what they want to be seeing. You got to listen to the people. They want a JLT wrap, they'll get a JLT wrap, you know. I think that's what you got to cater for. Clearly, I would love to go into more detail on a few of these players. Sometimes you give them 10 seconds, sometimes you give them 45, depending how well they went. But I think it's just good. You're probably not getting a stack of info from this video, but what I do hope it gives you is just a few players to think about. And like you, I probably didn't see every minute of the match over the course of the weekend. Neither did you probably out there, but it is good to just put it all together in one video, talk about a few guys who are on our radar, how they went, did anyone stand out, who's maybe put themselves on the map and maybe taken themselves off it. So it's always worth discussing that and keeping up to date. And clearly I'll, with my couple of weeks off, be watching plenty of footy and plenty of test cricket. So I'll be looking forward to that. But I'll keep the player profiles coming along as well. I'll keep churning those out. Keep your requests coming as well. I mean, plenty of those coming through, which is great to see. Great to get a vibe for which players people really want to hear about. And as the matches continue to flow on, there'll be plenty of players who put their hand up to say, profile me. So again, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you've stuck it out to the end of the video. If you have, I really appreciate it, because I know there's probably a lot of people who you know, skip through it or listen to certain bits and pieces, which is fine, but I really appreciate those who watch it right through to the very end. So that's always great to see and much appreciated. So subscribe away. As always, give the video a like, comment, as I always say, and I'll chat to you guys soon. Cheers.